Hey everyone, what's going on? It is Zach, and today we are going to talk about the Charlotte Regional that just finished up. I am a little bit late on this recap and what I see with the metagame so far. A lot of changes from Portland, that's for sure. I feel like with Portland, a lot of people with the beginning of Reg F were going a little safer. Just adding in a few more mons and changing it up a little. But with this one, people definitely experimented and it definitely paid off, and people made adjustments to what they saw with online tournaments and stuff. And I think it was really interesting, like what we saw. So I haven't watched anyone else's video on this so far, so I thought, let's make mine before I support those other content creators. But if you guys enjoy this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below, what do you think is the most interesting thing that we saw out of Charlotte Regionals? The first thing we have to talk about is how big it was. 845 masters. So this is the biggest one overall, so big that they had to add a sixth round into day 2, which gave a lot of players some more wiggle room, and it was kind of tough for some people to really edge out and even make the top 8. And when we look at the top 8, we can see a lot of like similar things. And the first thing you notice is that there are a lot of Urshifus, right? So 6 out of the 8 teams have Urshifu, but here's the thing. Only 2 of those are Rapid Strike. So Rapid Strike Urshifu is really on the decline, and I don't think it's bad. I just think that right now Single Strike gives a lot more to what is going on with the metagame, and one of those things being like size spam being really good, and for Rigraff, for example, and that's the next thing we can talk about here. 3 for Rigraffs, 2 of them have the Blood Moon Ursaluna in top 8. So for Rigraff, really good. A lot of Dondozo and like priority teams came about on online tournaments. We can see some down here in the top 16 and top 32. Entei has been seeing a lot of usage, and Entei got a lot of play. So that's something you had to worry about with Chien-Pao and Dragonite. Those Pokemon have a lot of priority, not to mention Raging Bolt, a special attacking priority, which for Mons like the Blood Moon Ursaluna, like the Water Urshifu, with these low special defenses, only Blood Moon if it terras into normal or another terra, but with these low special defense Pokemon, having a priority like special move has been a really big game changer, and that's made for Rigraff even more important to teams like this, where before, like, you know, Urshifu could take a priority physical attack because it has a higher physical defense. But when it comes to special attack, like, that's really tough, and especially with the water, which is why I think we've seen water drop so much, is because of this, you know, priority electric type move. And we've kind of seen a lot of Rapid Strike Urshifus start to drop Aqua Jet because of things like Farigiraf, and because it just doesn't hit that hard, especially if they're going Choice Scarf, which has been a common item. You really don't need the Aqua Jet that often, where you would feel better slotting in a move like U-Turn or Ice Spinner, for example, to get rid of terrains and stop grass type Pokemon and be able to hit grass type Pokemon. Because of this, like, Aqua Jet really hasn't been there, so like you can't even like out prioritize it with Aqua Jet if you really wanted to. But for that, like, Farigiraf saw a big up, especially with the Blood Moon Ursaluna. I noticed most of the Blood Moons weren't 0 speed, which is really interesting, because you think with a Trick Room team with that Farigiraf, for example, you would want the slowest possible Blood Moon, but I feel like a lot of people wanted to see the Blood Moon as a mode, like Arbin here, actually running it, but there's also the option for Tailwind. So if we take a look at his team, it is the Life Orb, so I don't know its exact, like, its speed, what its speed was at, but like the Tailwind there can actually give it some speed advantages against slower Pokemon. So you can outpower like Trick Room teams and still like work well in Trick Room against faster teams, which is a mode that I've always seemed to like, to have this option where like, okay, like I can either go fast or I can go Trick Room. And we saw this with Nicholas's team, played amazing, right? To have that record and to have to go against the same opponent 3 times in one tournament, and each one being such a good set. I think that was really great. But like, as you saw, like his Blood Moon was actually faster than Wolf's Incineroar outside of Trick Room. So it was kind of a tricky thing where like he couldn't just guarantee on the Trick Room itself. But his Iron Hands was slower. So like there was a whole lot of play and like a whole lot of information that like both these players had to keep in mind when they kept rematching each other. King Gambit, we saw a decent amount of King Gambit. The King Gambit Gouging Fire is a combination that I really like. And when I've looked at them, we're seeing a lot of Heat Crash. And I think that Heat Crash is just more consistent damage, which is kind of a bummer because I've been a big believer in the Temper Flare. But I think I will have to, you know, bring that down a little and maybe check out Heat Crash itself, because Temper Flare is good, like Stomping Tantrum, but it's doesn't get to its full potential unless you miss the first time or unless like they protect. So I think I need to look at the Heat Crash because like this set looks familiar except for the Heat Crash, you know? And a Smeargle. I had someone tell me that they don't like that I say Smeargle. I've been playing this game since I was like 8, so there's just some old habits of ways that I say Pokemon names. But I think this team is really cool, really unique. The wide guard on the Smeargle is really fascinating. And I was actually looking at this earlier. I already had that open. No protect on the Tornadus Grass Knot, which is something we haven't seen a lot on Tornadus. It's usually, if they're teching another move, it's usually Icy Wind. But as you can see, like there's really nothing to deal with water types. So I think the Grass Knot is a pretty good thing to throw in there. The wide guard, which helps with a lot of spread moves, and of course like Smeargle's like usual set of Spore, Follow Me, and Fake Out. So it's very interesting that they went for wide guard over something like Burning Bulk or like Spiky Shield, and then everything else is just once again another dark type single strike Urshifu. And the one thing I also noticed with Urshifu, with single strike Urshifu, is that you have a lot more freedom with the items. So, you know, most of the rapid strike Urshifus we've seen have been Choice Scarf or Mystic Water, and like with the exception of Focus Sash, with the single strike you have been having that option to go with the Choice Band, because Wicked Blow being just like a one-hit move opens up for so much more consistent damage, especially with something like Close Combat, Sucker Punch, or U-Turn, which is just a common thing we've seen. Like, and if you want it to be a little faster, you go Choice Scarf instead. But I like how we've seen the single strike run Choice Band more than we've seen the rapid strike throw it. We got Neil here with a really cool balance team. The Figgy Berry Ensign, the Roaring Moon. He is a big believer in Roaring Moon, and he plays it really well. Knockoff has been doing so much good damage, like, and it's you gotta admit that it's good because he's got it on 2 mons here, and they make really good advantage of it. I'm surprised that it's offensive Roaring Moon, so there is no form of speed control other than Fluttermane's Icy Wind, but a lot of these mons like Fluttermane and Roaring Moon are fast to begin with, and there is a lot of redirection on this team. Spore and Rage Powder on Amoonguss, and Follow Me on the Wellspring Ogerpon. So Neil is definitely a very good player, and he knew what he was doing bringing it into the event, and it shows because he did very well. It doesn't seem like a lot here, but Ogerpon is stronger than ever. Whether you want the offensiveness of the Hearth Flame mask, or if you want the support of the Wellspring mask, you see a lot of Ogerpon. Like if we go down just a little bit more, we got a lot of Ogerpons here. And we're even seeing Teal Mask get some usage. We saw Jamie Boyd bring it, and other tournaments with the Define and stuff. And then we saw where's the team? All right, I had to go back to Portland. The team that I'm talking about, like the reason why we saw Farigiraf so much, the reason why we're seeing Teal Mask get some show here is because of like Chupa Cross's team with the Teal Mask, the Glamora, the Dondozo, and then like the Chien-Pao Dragonite, just like a very offensive 2-2-2 where you can set up Toxic Spikes at the beginning and then like play an endgame with Dondozo. One interesting thing that I really like is that Dondozo is nowhere to be found in day 2, but you still see some Glamora here. Glamora being that quick, like you automatically get a powerful offense, and even if they, you know, double protect so they don't get hit with the meteor beam, you're still getting that +1 after the power herb, and then you can use that double protect to capitalize off of like their passive play. So you can set up Tailwind next to it, as you can see here with Stefan's team. We got the meteor beam power herb. I would have to say, I probably say that there was a bunch of times where they led Glamora Tornadus and just, you know, clicked Tailwind, and having that powerful meteor beam coming out probably put Tornadus in a lot safer situations where it didn't have to worry about getting like hit really hard right off the rip, because you had that meteor beam threatening so much damage like right off the top. Another thing, like Luca is the only Chien-Pao into top 8, so we saw Chien-Pao actually drop from the top 10 most used Pokemon in day 2. So you still see a decent amount, but when you look at like how much Ogrepons you see, how much Urshifus, both single strike and rapid strike you see, like it's kind of crazy that you can have this hyper offense and not really get that, like, and still like not need the boost of Chien-Pao. Like Chien-Pao's still definitely good, but and another thing with Urshifu Dark, another reason why it's been ran so much is because of the size spam. So NDD Iron Crown, NDD Hatterene, not much Armor Rogue anymore, but as you go down, you will see a little bit more of NDD Iron Crown and NDD Hatterene. So like that Urshifu just puts so much pressure on that size spam, like right off the rip, and like Trick Room in general. So we actually saw some players that run the single strike in the Farigiraf. So you not only present a lot of damage, but you have a way to stop our reverse Trick Room. Other things I noticed, we got some P2s here and some Archaludons. It's good to see Archaludon get some play here. We got Landorus Incarnate and Nails with a Screamtail, which I think is really cool, and then double Genie. But yeah, definitely a lot of takeaways with, you know, whether it's feedback on how I've been testing teams and maybe some changes that I need to make, and also things that you need to look for, because if you're testing, you're going to see a lot of these top 8 teams on ladder. I know that Luca dropped the rental code for his team, so did Neil. So, and Toller Web, which I believe Toller and Justin Karras had the same team, because I know Toller gave Justin his flowers with the spearheading the team creation. So really cool overall. And I guess, yeah, it is another Toller's team and Justin Karras' team is that Armor Rogue Iron Crown. Another thing I really saw, where was Babytron? Brendan Zhang here. Iron Jugulis. I believe he said he was running a faster Ursaluna with the Tailwind support, could do really well. You had the Farigiraf in case you wanted to do the Trick Room, and then you had the slower mode here with Farigiraf, Amoonguss Incineroar, and like Blood Moon. But then you also had like Wellspring, Ogerpon, and Iron Jugulis, which I just thought was a really cool team, and I don't think anyone expected to have to go up against an Iron Jugulis. But once again, with that Dark type, it had so much utility going into the size spam, which is something that everyone needed to factor in, because size spam was one of those teams that was rising up in online tournaments and stuff, but definitely to see that people prep for it very well. And for those side spam players, I wonder how we see those adjustments to help deal with side spam. I don't know. But anyways, that's going to be all. Let me know what you guys thought about the Charlotte Regionals in the comments down below. Congrats for everyone who placed, walked away with some money, walked away with some championship points. Congratulations to Wolf for winning and Nicholas for the second place. But that's going to be all. Until next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.